Hey everyone, I'm Lumanical. This is the second part of a three-part series covering what Mojang should do about the combat situation in Minecraft. The first video focused on the background of this situation, including the rift in the community and Jeb's new combat snapshots that are trying to solve it. The third will focus on what new PvP should actually look like. And this video, the second, will revisit the old game rule debate. But hold on a minute, what is the old game rule debate? What am I even going on about here? Well, let me explain. Also, this video assumes you've seen the first in the series already, so check that out if you haven't already. Anyway, I owe you an explanation now, I guess. I was going to tell you what the game rule was. So, after the 1.9 update, many in the 1.8 community were incredibly unhappy with the changes, and they either wanted to see them reverted altogether, or have some sort of system, like hybrid system, where there would be a game rule in which people could switch between the old system 1.8 and the new system, which was at the time 1.9. This game rule I'm talking about is one that would toggle between different combat systems. It will be implemented in the latest version by Mojang. There will be three options: 1.8, 1.16, and new combat. 1.8 would just revert most combat related changes back, including armor protections, enchantments, sword and axe damages, potions, and removing the attack cooldown, removing shields, removing the mechanic where your food saturation regenerates your health, but would keep some aspects like tipped arrows. 1.16 would keep the attack cooldown and current weapon damages and armor protections, and could potentially receive some other balance changes in the future, but maybe not because Mojang might have too much work then, as they would also be developing the latest version combat system, which would probably look similar to the current combat snapshots, holding down left click to attack, with all the balance changes that are needed for this fundamentally different core mechanic. New combat would be the default setting, so only players who cared about this would even know about it. Now you know how the game rule works, I'm going to go into its history, and think about why anyone would actually want this. So, let's get started. Remember how I said the old game rule debate and said this has been suggested before? Well, it has, but some players suggested only disabling the attack cooldown, which wouldn't work because then everything else would be unbalanced. And while other players have suggested this before, as in the complete idea of reverting everything back, these were only really vague suggestions, which allowed Mojang to reject the idea easily. Something else these suggestions are missing, but my one has, is, well, the latest version PvP, new combat. These people just wanted an option to revert back to 1.8, but I think having a new combat system is good, because it could be implemented really well. And also, just a matter of choice. Being able to choose how you play the game, I think is really important, and this is the point I will cover later in much more detail. So it should be clear by now that the game rule I'm outlining is different from previous suggestions that have been made in the community. Let's review these differences. It would have the latest version PvP, new PvP, whereas other suggestions have only wanted to have 1.8 and 1.16. Another way the system I'm suggesting is different from other implementations of this game rule that have been suggested before is that my version would sort of revert everything. Like previously, as we saw in the forum example, someone just suggested only reverting attack cooldown, but then that would mean everything else was unbalanced. You'd have to revert everything back to 1.8, like when under the 1.8 option of the game rule, to have everything work well and be balanced and satisfy the 1.8 PvPers. Equally, in 1.16, everything needs to be how 1.16 is. It needs to be balanced to that, which means the armor values need to change, enchantments need to change, like weapon damages and potentially reaches in new PvP need to change. Like, it's more than just a conventional game rule. Yes, that's true, but I think it's still perfectly possible to do, considering that, like, how good the development team at Mojang is. Also, I know that on Java Edition all current game rules have only two options, true or false, not three, So if having one with three options didn't work, there could be 3 separate game rules for each combat system, where only one could be toggled at a time. So now we've covered what this game rule actually is. Next video will focus on why we need it. I know I said at the beginning that this would only be one video, however it's already taken quite a while to cover all of this, so I've decided to split up this second part of the 3-part series into 2 separate parts itself. With that being said, thank you for watching, and if the next video is released yet, the second part of the series, then it will be on your screen currently. Otherwise, have a good day, and goodbye.